Hello, I'm Bruce Frantzis. Today I'm going to explain to you some of the secrets of the internal martial arts, especially Xing Yi Quan and one of its main variations, Yi Quan. Like you, I'm very passionate about martial arts, both in terms of what it can do for your health and in terms of your life, everything in your life, but also in terms of its usefulness and practicality in self-defense situations. Now, as a child, before I began martial arts at the age of 12, I was utterly physically uncoordinated. They used to test people in my school twice a year for mental and physical abilities. It was a good school, and the physical one was the problem because I scored in the bottom 5% of the United States population. 95% of the population was more coordinated than me. And one time I asked the person who gave the test, I told him how I felt bad about this, and I whined. And he said, look, kid, just be grateful we don't have a number lower than 5%. So when I got involved in martial arts, I resolved that I was going to get past this minor limitation. Now, as this went through, from that time, I got involved, and originally I became involved in karate, then judo, then jiu-jitsu, then aikido. I had a lot of black belts before I was 18. I was winning black belt karate championships when I was 15, 16, 17. So I kind of had the sense of what martial arts were. And then I went to Japan, and my karate team won the All Japan University Championships. And those things were rough. Japanese university karate scenes, at least back in the 60s, was seriously rough stuff. So I came in with the idea of something should be practical. If it wasn't practical, I didn't want to know its name. Then when I did that, at this time, my knees were really, really messed up because I used to practice kicking on a 300-pound bag. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people who underwent Japanese university karate training got their knees messed up. It was brutal. That's the only way of putting it. And then all of a sudden, I found out through doing the standing and Yi Quan, it completely healed my knees and it became like steel again. From previously walking down the Ginza, my legs used to buckle and I used to fall on the ground. And I had to stay down there for 20, 30 seconds before I could get up again. Which was, shall we say, not something that made a youth happy. Now, part of this is that every martial art is looking for a few things. Okay, they're looking to be strong. That's for sure. They're looking to be effective. That's for sure. And at the end of the day, they're hoping for peace of mind. Peace of mind can happen with Xing Yi, but I would say its greater thing is developing this focus that can allow anybody, whether they're very small or they're very old, to have this mind and this focus that just can enable you to go through obstacles and keep on going where most other people fall by the wayside. So it makes an extremely clear and extremely strong mind, something which I think most people could use. This is something that is useful to any martial artist. It's equally as useful to a grappler, that there are times when if you blank out just for a second, when you were just squeezing into that hold, it doesn't work. It works for someone who's trying to choke somebody. It kind of, there's just that little place where you got to squeeze in, but if your mind goes out, you lose it. But if you come back, you're right back there. It works the same thing for people who kick and punch, because if there's anything about timing, focus is for sure a major aspect. So you ask yourself when you're practicing, and I ask myself a question watching them, and then I'll tell my personal experience. The first thing I started noticing was that, when I still was doing karate, while I was still kind of shifting over from dropping karate, but I was in the middle ground where I was still doing a lot of sparring, and before I was completely doing internal martial arts, I started finding out that I noticed something. Physically, you can do all sorts of physical training they call external martial arts in China. You can lift weights, you can do circuit training, you can run, you can hit bags, you do all these things. And yet in China, which had a very long history of martial arts and had lots of competitions that were, shall we say, as rough as it gets, rougher than the mixed martial art thing, because in mixed martial arts, people don't die. In China, they died. That brings a whole nother dimension into the game. But if you start looking at this now, what is it that can bring about a form of power for people who aren't weightlifting, who aren't doing these super calisthenics, who aren't doing the circuit training and all the aerobic training, that still they were coming up with a similar kind of speed and power. And the Chinese call this qi. Now, whether you agree that qi is for real or not, the fact is that internal martial arts have been able to do that using qi, whether you wish to call it qi or you wish to call it a puppy dog. There's something that they're doing. And Xingyi is probably the most direct way of getting into that. So that's a useful thing for someone who does any sort of martial art, regardless of what it might happen to be. So what is that X factor? Well, that X factor is developing qi. That X factor is the way that you use your mind. It is the way that you're able to relax your body to increase the functioning of your central nerves. It's a lot of things. Xingyi is more direct way of getting there for a martial artist than Tai Chi. What is it that can do for you? What is it? Well, the first one is it can give you that internal power. It can show you the way to develop that internal power, that X factor, that is something above and beyond physical training. And it's in the way that it's trained. Now, something that needs to be said, to be honest about it, is that don't get the idea that you just, can do it an hour a week and you're going to get all these amazing things. Because when you're talking about the Xingyi in its day when it was doing competitions, it pretty much wiped out virtually all the external martial arts. But that's when Xingyi people were practicing 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day, just like good external martial art people are practicing 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day if they're doing it professionally. So if you start comparing apples and apples, same amount of training for same amount of training, that X factor, Xingyi people had it. And they call this X factor internal power, gung. And that internal power is something that both I Ching and Xingyi go very directly for. That's what it is. And people who do purely internal martial arts, they depend purely on that X factor. But someone who does external martial arts, as everything today, people mix and match all sort of stuff. That's just the nature of life in modern times. Now, if you look at the next thing that you have is you have a body and a mind. The one thing that deeply, deeply impressed me when I was in Taiwan as a youth is that I said, wow, at that time I was 19. Wow. And I was just wishing, my God, I wish I could have started this when I was 12 instead of karate. That's all I got to tell you. That was my own personal wish. But okay, never mind. You've arrived where you've arrived at whatever age you've arrived. Before a person starts developing serious internal power, they start getting healthy. Because the basis of internal power is well-flowing qi. The basis of all Chinese medicine is qi. And all the practices in Xingyi develop your qi. And they're a way of making a person healthy and strongish fairly rapidly. Now, if you put the more time into it and you really do it the way, shall we say, it's done at optimum, then you don't get strongish, you get strong. But first, before there is strength, there is health. Because a sick body cannot hold internal power. It cannot grow internal power. So Xingyi has been used as a method of healing people of all sorts of diseases. The same way Tai Chi has been used for the exact same reason. So if you want a healthier body, and if you want a mind that is able to be clear and can focus and be relaxed and be completely on point and can stay there for very, very long periods of time, that's important. This is especially useful for people who are wishy-washy, who have trouble making decisions, who have trouble sticking to things, who have trouble following through. If Xingyi can't get you through that, I don't know anything else that will, because the training of Xingyi has you do this not only at a mental level, but your physical body is involved. All of you gets involved. I found at first that doing the postures of I Ching, doing these various postures, made me incredibly strong. But I have to say that when it really started coming down much more to, let's say, heavier fighting scenarios, I personally found the splitting fist or P-Tren of Xingyi to be even more useful. Well, folks, Stay tuned for more videos, and I sure hope you enjoy them.